All right, we're live. So let's make sure we got the audio here before we go. I had some problems with that yesterday. Let's just check here. Yeah, it looks like we're all good. Awesome. So welcome back to Dapp University. So today we're going to talk about some pretty big news for Ethereum. This is something that kind of flew under the radar yesterday that I don't think a lot of people were talking about, and that's how PayPal is looking into using Ethereum as an actual financial-based solution. Okay, we're going to talk about that in this video because I think this is huge. This is something that actually takes off. It would be massive for the entire space. Okay, we're of course going to jump in, look at the markets, see what's going on with the with Ether price, with Bitcoin price, all that kind of stuff. Looking at some other crazy news about big institutions getting into the space, buying up a lot more cryptocurrency, a lot more. All right. So before we get to that, if you're new around here, hey, I'm Gregory, and on this channel, I turn you into a blockchain master. So if that's something that you're interested in, then smash that like button down below for the YouTube algorithm and subscribe to this channel. And if you want to learn how to become a blockchain master step by step from start to finish, then head on over to dappuniversity.com/bootcamp to get started today. All right, so we got people jumping in the chat here. We got Evan, we got Nadim, Simon, Pedro. Awesome. Yeah, very cool. So let's go ahead and jump into this first item in news. How about that? We'll do that before we get into the prices, and we'll check on everything else. So I pulled this article, and like I said, this is something that flew under the radar yesterday. I didn't see very many people talking about this, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to talk about it on today's stream. Because if this actually transpires into something, this could be massive for Ethereum. So let's just go ahead and jump in and take a look. So, oops, for some reason my webcam's not working on here. Let's see here. So I may have to jump to screen only to show the screen, unfortunately, guys. Give me just 1 second here. I can probably fix it while I'm talking to you. Sorry for the technical difficulties. I will get this fixed right now. All right, there we go. Sorry, everybody. So let's jump in this first piece of news here. So this is how PayPal is looking into using Ethereum for their actual, don't have total clarity on what this is, but let's just jump into it step by step, okay? So PayPal CEO reveals their plans for new crypto unit. A lot of this is actually focused on using smart contracts with Ethereum, so actually using Ethereum infrastructure for something at PayPal. We don't know what it is. There's gonna be lots of speculation about this. It's kind of mysterious, but let's just jump in. So basically, talking about how PayPal, posted a blowout fourth quarter for 2020. Of course, they have their core app and their Venmo unit. All right. So the whole idea is they're not resting on their laurels. Like, they are just gonna keep expanding in full force. Make hay while the sun shines. And part of that is doubling down on crypto. So, we saw PayPal release support for cryptocurrencies last year. We letting people purchase, some of the top cryptocurrencies in this other application, use them to pay merchants. Okay. So that was huge last year. So, but anyways, he's talking about how an exclusive interview, he's racing to adopt the next era of financial technology, including launching a business unit dedicated for cryptocurrencies, first announced last month. So I saw something in here. I wanted to make sure I get it right. I don't want to misspeak from the article. Talking about how they were doing more with the cryptocurrencies beyond what they currently were in the application. So I missed it. I don't want to spend too much time searching for it here. But here's the important part I really want to double down on, okay? So they're talking about how PayPal's crypto using is experimenting with smart contracts themselves. Okay, so testing Ethereum and other blockchains. So to be clear, they could arrive at some other blockchain solution besides Ethereum long term. But they mentioned Ethereum by name and that they're actually using this with smart contracts as potential candidates to help the company improve payments and other transactions. That's key, to improve payments. All right, so I've been talking about this for a while on this channel about how stable coins can be big for DeFi as a value proposition that actually improves what we have now in the traditional financial system. I talk about whenever you make a transaction, there's so much fat underneath that, like especially if you're transferring in between banks. A lot of that can be improved with automation. It can be done faster. It can be done cheaper. Time is money, all that kind of stuff. And so we don't have total clarity on exactly what PayPal's experimenting with, but the key things to take away here are talking about improving payments and other transactions and Ethereum by name, and actually using smart contracts, not just, sending Ethereum cryptocurrency around or something like that. Like the actual utility of the blockchain itself, the world computer smart contract platform, is something they see valuable that can improve payments and other transactions from PayPal. All right, one of the largest payment solutions in the entire world. Okay, so this is big. All right, and if they were to actually adopt Ethereum and use it under the hood somehow, it would be massive. All right, so let's see here. Okay, let's see here. So let's go ahead and jump into the prices. So I got somebody here says improve ETH with gas fees. No, faster, cheaper. ETH 2.0 is too far. So we do have layer 2 scaling solutions coming out very soon. I'll talk about that here in a minute. So that will help dramatically with that current problem. It won't make it go away completely, but it will definitely improve it. So let's talk about, let's look at the markets here. I'm sure a lot of people are wondering about this. Like what's going on with, Bitcoin, what's going on with Ethereum. We're kind of in this like limbo phase is kind of what I feel like, where people are not quite sure if it's a dip. We're not sure if we're just going to range for a while. We're not sure if we're going to just like slowly, kind of trend downward. Maybe it kind of takes a dump at some point. We'll see what happens. All right. So as always, not a big trader, not a big TA guy. I'm looking at this for the long term. Should I be taking money off the table? Should I be buying in? I'm doing nothing right now. I'm basically just sitting on my hands. That's what I'm personally doing. Not financial advice, not telling you what to do. You gotta be careful. People out there who say just buy the dip. If we don't know what's dip, all that kind of stuff. I've been saying that for days on this channel now, but I want to reiterate it. Just so that, I don't like to give financial advice, but I'm okay with telling you to be cautious. Okay. That's the only financial advice that I will give is to be cautious. But let's look at, let's actually look at the charts here. Okay. So again, BTC and ETH they're kind of doing the same thing. I mean, the trend lines are basically, they're basically the same direction. I mean, some slight variance, right? Like the Bitcoin chart is, it's got a couple different peaks that the ETH chart doesn't have. The curve is slightly different, but they're both just like really correlated, trending in the same direction. So let's take a look at what I want to do is look at also the Newport chart and look at a couple other people's analysis of what's happening right now. Because again, not a big trader, not a big TA guy. Look at the big picture here. I don't personally know what's going to happen next, but I want to look at a couple other takes that I think are pretty compelling. Okay, so we'll look at Newport first. Where are we in the Newport chart? So we've got some air kind of coming back into the room on Newport. Again, we kissed this euphoria line. We did not go into it. Like I said, as a price correct, it sucks people who are losing money at that level, but it does give us more headroom. And the more this cools off, that means the higher we can probably go long term. Okay, so that's big for Newport. So let's look at some takes on this. Okay, because again, I don't know what's going to happen next, but let's look at some ideas. So one take is from Raul here. Y'all know, if you've been watching my channel, I like following his stuff a lot. So he's talking about that this is feeling like another wedge. Okay, so if you look at the past wedge that we had, the wedge kind of looks like you can see the wedge here drawn on the chart, right? And what happened to the last wedge that we saw? It just kind of breaks out of that descending wedge and then starts to slowly trend up higher, right? So that very well could be the case. Another take is that I saw here was in a reply to this thread. We're talking about it looks a lot like March 2017, okay, where this is the Bitcoin price from March 2017. We saw this, right? We saw the dump, and then but after it recovered and we trended a lot higher, and we had a historic bull run of 2017 after that. Okay, so It's hard to know what's going to happen next. Again, March has historically been a bad month for Bitcoin for many years. Okay, some people will say you have no reason to think that's going to happen again this March. That is not statistically significant. That might be true, right? There's just lots of factors to consider. Okay, but one thing I did think was interesting here when I was looking at this was he was saying that the crazy thing about this is it looks, basically the same as the ETH price. Okay, so yeah, March 2017, Bitcoin trading at $1,200, $1,281. Okay, so it's interesting that Raul says this because if you go watch my video on that analyzes his price prediction, he has a thesis basically that says that the price of these layer one cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and Ethereum, like the cryptocurrencies that are actually the native assets of the blockchain themselves, essentially follow Metcalfe's law. Okay, so I've talked about some on my channel. I'll reiterate for the new people out there. Essentially, Metcalfe's law is an idea that the value of a telecommunications network. It's used a lot in the dot-com boom. So the value of a telecommunications network is proportional to the square the number of people are on it. Let me just show you a diagram. I think if I show you the diagram, it'll make a lot more sense. Okay. So the whole idea here, think about a phone network or a social network, for example. So a phone network is if you have two phones on a phone network, there's two phones means one connection. 5 phones means 25 connections. 10 phones, et cetera, right? So the whole idea is you square the number. So there's after 1, right? Or after 2. So 5 is 5 squared, right? So the whole idea is that the value is exponential relationship. As the x-axis moves along, linear number of people, there's an exponential number of connections. So that's the exponential amount of value that people you can connect with. So his whole thesis is that like the cryptocurrency prices are correlated with the same type of thing. So the number of active addresses on the network, that the value is correlated, keyword correlated, with a exponential relationship in the price of cryptocurrency itself. Now, some people say that's a crazy leap in logic. Like, how can anybody think that? But if you look, there are lots of reasons to think that's true. Especially if you look at the past data, that if you plot the data out, it looks like that correlation appears to be there, especially even in log terms. Okay, and what he's saying is basically, if that's true for both ETH and Bitcoin, and if ETH is essentially kind of one market cycle behind Bitcoin, it looks like the prices are tracking eerily similar to one another, and that like the ETH price looks a lot like the Bitcoin price did essentially one cycle ago, and it's seeing a similar rate of adoption, actually a faster rate of adoption. And that's one of the reasons he arrives at his kind of like parabolic price prediction for ETH. All right, I talked a lot in that video if you want to see my complete thoughts on that. Do I think that's true? Do I think it's possible? I'll give you kind of all my thoughts inside of there. But the reason I bring that up is that's what he's talking about here, this tweet thread. Okay, I know it's kind of a long explanation, but he's saying that like his response to this, if you look at this Bitcoin, what it did in March of 2017, it's basically at the same price level that ETH is at right now. It's off by a little bit, right? ETH is a little bit more, but it's pretty close. All right, so let's keep going here. So another thing to think about are the institutional adoption of cryptocurrencies, because again, we need more money to flow into the space if the run's going to continue. Either the same people have to buy more, or new people have to buy more. The crazy thing about institutions is they have the power to move the needle a lot more, because they can put more money in. So, survey that came out, I think it was yesterday, came out March 4th. Is today the 5th? Yeah, today's the 5th. So this was yesterday. So JP Morgan survey shows many institutional investors aren't likely to invest in crypto. So there was actually, hold on a second. Let me find. There was a stat in here that I wanted to pull up. Let me find it. I actually want to find the stat before I talk about the. So yeah, hold on a second. Let me find the actual stat. Hold on. Okay, here it is. So, well, the title, let's talk about many institutions aren't likely. Here's the important part. You have to flip this around on its head. So 22% here said that they are likely to do so in the future. Okay, so that's what's important. So it can be a little like disheartening to see a title that's like, you know, that many institutional investors aren't likely to invest in crypto. That's okay. We don't need every institution on the face of the planet to invest in crypto to see the needle really move. But the important thing to see here is that 22% said that they're likely to do so in the future. Okay, that's big. We're definitely not in the phase where like everybody's just going to wake up tomorrow and we're going to see widespread crypto adoption. We're not there. We're not going to be there 6 months from now. We're not going to be there a year from now, I don't think. It's going to take some time, but I mean, don't forget, like crypto's barely $1 trillion market cap right now. I mean, Bitcoin is, and there's not much. Let's just actually look at the number. Okay, so $1.5 trillion is the entire market cap right now. I mean, don't forget, like that's pretty small in the grand scheme of things compared to other markets out there, compared to gold's market cap, compared to lots of other things. Okay, so yeah. I mean, we got that's how people make these crazy astronomical predictions for like the Bitcoin price long term. Like I said, I don't like to give short term price predictions on this channel, but people talk about like a $500,000 Bitcoin, like $1 million Bitcoin, all that kind of stuff. I mean, like that's why they talk about it, is because the market on the grand scheme of things is small compared to these other things. All right. So, anyways, so I think I want to talk about, especially with the institutions. It's funny, people talk about the flippening, right? They're talking about like ETH maybe flipping Bitcoin one day. I don't make firm predictions on anything like that. I think it's possible, right? I think a lot has to happen in order for that to actually, take place. But it's interesting. I saw this tweet yesterday that I put on my Twitter. I thought it was a good point. So it says the real flippening is DeFi over TradFi or traditional finance. It says laugh now, but which will the rising generations choose? So I think there's some truth to this, right? So we don't know what's going to happen in the future. I think DeFi is massive. I think has the potential to be really, really, really big. Whether it completely replaces the financial system we have now over time, or it just offers a really good alternative to it, we'll wait and see. Right. I know nobody's a crystal ball, no one knows for sure. But I think this is a compelling thing to think about. Is when we have new generations coming up who are used to doing things digitally, who can see the benefits of an empowered individual. I think that's huge for these coming generations. I think there's a lot of reason to think that they would choose something like DeFi over traditional finance, especially if we can make it a lot better in the next handful of years, to where the new coming generation can onboard into it a lot easier. All right, I've seen people talk about how crypto is a lot of hope for like the millennial generations and younger who feel like they don't have a seat at the table. You know what I mean? Or feel like this deck is stacked against them, or they didn't have the opportunities to generate like the big wealth like the generations before them did. But I sincerely think that DeFi like gives them DeFi, crypto, all that kind of stuff gives them more options. I'll put it that way. And there's still options on the table for sure. I don't want to like totally like say that's not the case, but crypto is definitely huge for that. It is risky, of course. I mean, I personally do it, but something to think about for sure. So, see, one last thing I want to talk about, and then we'll move on to some questions. our let's see here. I saw this come out from Vitalik. I think this was yesterday. So no, it was not yesterday. It was several days ago. But I just saw it yesterday. So let's pull it up. So this is on ETH Research. Okay, so this is from Vitalik Buterin, the mastermind behind Ethereum. So an idea of cross roll-up DEX with smart contracts only on the destination side. Okay, so I haven't read through this whole thing. I'm gonna take a look through it here in a minute. But if anybody wants to really geek out and look at what's possible with roll-ups and some experimental ideas, you can read through Vitalik's proposal here. There's lots of comments here. Kind of dialoguing and saying, why this could be good, et cetera, why this could be bad. So go check this out. But I want to bring this back in the layer 2 conversation because, yeah, I mean, we're getting really close to layer 2 being here on Ethereum. I see people already talking about layer 2 in the chat. I repeat this a lot in my live streams. It's the most common asked questions. So if you've heard this a million times, just bear with me. But layer 2 scaling solutions are basically here. They're going to be coming a lot faster in March. They are an answer to Ethereum's gas fees. They're not going to be the end-all be-all for scaling Ethereum, but it's going to make the problem a lot better than it is right now. Of course, these things have to be battle tested, right? I'm not saying that like they're going to come out and then the next day all our problems are fixed. That's not what I'm saying. Go back to my original prediction where I think that layer 2 scaling will be widely adopted in 2021 and a lot of the kinks will kind of be worked out. But like when it does drop and we start seeing those first big apps use them and make the problem a lot better, it's gonna be epic. Like it'll be more epic than that long term. But it's gonna be crazy when we see those first apps you kind of rolling out with them. So I mean, I think DEXs are one of the biggest pain points here, like yield farming projects, all that kind of stuff. I think when we see Uniswap adopt with V3, it's with roll up, probably with rollups. But like I said, we don't have official news from this. Just kind of me putting the pieces together. I think we're probably going to see them come out with like optimism. Not like yeah. I don't want to say too much, but I want to pull this other tweet that I retweeted this morning actually as I was kind of looking at my Twitter. Let me find it. So it was this. So talking about how Uniswap V3 is one of the few things that was probably going to be better than the hype. Spent 2 hours hating Adams the other day, like mind's still blown. So I think it's good. Yeah, you gotta be careful, not to hype up something to set the expectations higher than it's going to be. But I still think like Uniswap rolling out with layer 2 is going to be a game changer. All right, so let's go ahead and get some questions here in the chat. Somebody says once ETH breaks out for real, it'll skyrocket. I can see that. Somebody says EIP 1559 happening. So yeah, it is happening. So, well, I so careful how I say that. Very likely to happen in July. So let's look up. I'll get to speak about that really quickly. So yeah, let's pull it up on the screen. So everybody doesn't know about EIP 1559. It's an improvement to it's an improvement to Ethereum. There's lots of things that it does. One of the things that people are super excited about the EIP 1559 is breaking up the gas fees into 2 parts, and changing like the economics of how the miners get paid. And part of the fee, the base fee and the miner tip. So the base fee can get burned, which can change the economics of ETH, like make it like deflationary at times, and if the network activity is high enough, basically make it deflationary. So yeah, we're looking at potentially like a July target date for that. So that will also be huge. Okay, so this is a likely thing. It's not a guarantee. Okay, so careful about that, but yeah, likely to happen. Where's my Starbucks cup full of water today? Yeah, I haven't been to Starbucks in a while. So let's see. Yeah, that's a good question. So James says, how does an app adopt layer 2 solutions and who decides if they do? Yeah, that's a really good question. So there are different layer 2 scaling solutions out there. One of the reasons I'm so bullish on optimism for optimistic rollups, I've actually got a video coming out later today that's going to talk about this in detail. Okay, so I'll give you a preview of that, but subscribe to the channel, check out that video, turn on notifications for that video when it comes out. But one of the reasons I'm so excited about optimism is that it creates some of the least friction for apps to move to layer 2. So you don't have to learn a new programming language to make the app ready for layer 2. You can use the existing programming languages because the OVM, the optimistic virtual machine, is basically the same as the EVM. I mean, basically, right? Like it's based on the EVM. So it can run your Solidity smart contracts on the OVM. You don't really have to change the code on the grand scheme of things. Most of your developer tools will work out of the box. Okay, so there's like near zero cost and effort to move to layer 2. Of course, you got to test it, make sure everything works, all that kind of stuff. But on the grand scheme of things, it's not like you have to build an entirely new app like in a different programming language or something like that and optimize it for some other solution. Run some crazy new tech. Like there's the friction's way lower. So I mean, theoretically, like if your code's open source, like somebody else could just take it and like put it on Optimism. That may not be totally true. Like yeah, it may not be totally true, but yeah, the overhead to moving to Optimism is a lot lower than many other scaling solutions, and that's one of the reasons that I'm so excited about it. Now, that being said, part of your question may be like, how do you know if you're using the layer 2 version? So you have to migrate your personal funds to layer 2. There are some catches with layer 2 stuff. Right? It's gonna be awesome, but there are some realities. Which if you have funds on Ethereum layer 1 right now, you have to get them to layer 2, and so there will be a cost associated with that. That will suck for a lot of people, especially if you have a bunch of different tokens, like pushing them up to layer 2. There are solutions for newcomers down the road. Exchange on ramps, like basically if you get on a cryptocurrency exchange and you want to move to layer 2, you could withdraw from that exchange and go into layer 2. You could the other problem is like the delay, so it takes time for you to withdraw funds from layer 2 for depending on the solution, like Optimism, for example, because there's a delay for validation. There are some ways I've seen people talk about ways where you could like shortcut that, where somebody could like it's hard for me to explain it off the top of my head, but basically how there are ways to potentially speed that up with a little enhanced trust from the verifier. But another potential possibility is basically just letting exchanges let you withdraw off of layer 2 as well. That's a good question. So somebody says, can you move all your funds to L2 in one transfer? Somebody might make a solution for that. It would require you probably approving those assets. That's a good question. I have to think through that one a little bit. But if you're going to do it manually, then you would, from my understanding right now, you would need to manually do everything. So some of these questions will become clear. The answer to these questions will become clear as these things actually roll out. Because again, like I said, it's gonna be huge. It's gonna be huge. I don't want to overhype it because there will be some sort of catches that we have to kind of figure out. That is gonna suck for some people. But yeah, it's gonna be big. Somebody says, Ben, using ZK swaps is pretty good. Yes, you pay to get on the L2, but it's free to remove. Yeah, that is one benefit of ZK rollups. So somebody said, do I think the stock market crash is happening, and if yes, will it take Bitcoin down with it like last March? So that's two questions in there. I don't know if the stock market's crashing. I've been talking about my channel the past couple days where it's a concern. If it does crash, it's not financial advice, but if it does crash, I think crypto markets and stock markets will be correlated together to the downside for sure. I think if the stock market tanks, the crypto market will tank. Now, will that end the multi-year or the year-long plus, bull run? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know the answer to that question. But I think if the stock market crashes, I doubt we're just magically going to see Bitcoin unaffected or like going higher. I don't think we're there yet. Somebody says they're correlated for sure, but it'll bounce back. People don't have any other place to put their money, protect against inflation. Yeah, I think it's true. But I think on the short term, though, people still value cash as a stable, safe asset. I mean, the inflation thing is true for the long term. But I mean, depending on how much cash you're talking, like, holding cash for a year is not like the end of the world. But holding cash for 10 years is not good. Yeah, somebody says cash is trash. Yeah, it might be trash. All right, everybody. So that's all I got for today. As always, smash that like button down below for the YouTube algorithm. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. If you like these videos, you're as fascinated with this technology as I am, how can you get your hands dirty, get started today? You go to my YouTube homepage. You can find any of my free courses there. They're like Udemy courses, but they're totally free. I just launched a new one a couple weeks ago showing you how to build a DeFi application with smart contracts on top of Ethereum. Create your first Dapp. You don't have to be an expert to get started today. I'm going to show you everything in there step by step, okay? If you like those videos, you want to take the next step, or hey, maybe you want to take a master shortcut entirely, I become a blockchain master from start to finish over at dappuniversity.com/bootcamp. All right. Again, you don't have to be an expert to get started today. I've had people with zero coding background become real world blockchain developers in a matter of months. So that's all I've got. And until next time, thanks for watching Dapp University.